Let's go.
Just go. All right, we
go,
are
come on.
live. I'm here with the A-Team crew on AlienScientist. You can join the discussion with the link in the live chat in the description of this video, and or you can comment in the live chat. We'll read your questions. We just wanted to, I put this link up so that people could join after the video that we just posted with, I don't know, I was uploading it earlier and I fell asleep because it was an hour and a half upload time. And that video came from Stan Dio, and Stan Dio sent it to our database guy. He had gotten all the archival footage from Brown's daughter, edited it down, and made that video and digitized it with those really nice screen titles where he shows the dates, so you don't have to sit there and try to read the calendars and each of the opening shots. I like how they recorded the calendar first to show the dates of all the stuff. That was an interesting way of documenting it for the old 8mm, 16mm, film footage. But that was super cool, and we're here on live discussion to talk about that footage and talk about some of the, that stuff. So if anyone, if anyone wants to jump on, we're gonna be up for a little bit. I fell asleep. I crashed early, and then I'm like wide awake right now. And I know there's a lot of people that are just night owls, and this is like prime time.
Yep, that's me. Wait, so Brown was the guy that did the whole teleporting Navy ship, right? Or was it somebody else? Oh man, I'm tripping. Okay.
No,
you know who that was?
No, man.
I do remember. I've heard rumors about a connection to the research of Brown and the Philadelphia experiment, but as far as the officialdom goes, I don't think that he had directly worked on it. Though I know he is tied in with an there's a webpage that goes through his whole entire life story, and I'll have to find what it is. Somebody bothered to transcribe it and basically give it a nice narrative that fits all in this really old school looking Angel Fire kind of webpage. Anyways, it does go through that, and he does have a connection with the Philadelphia experiment. I forget exactly how it is, but no, I don't believe he personally worked on it.
But he was the guy that basically
it's part of his stuff, and it's also part of Tesla's stuff. I mean, Tesla had observed the phenomena way earlier and had seen it with high power impulse and discharges, especially
I would love to be able to interview these guys and ask them like what they knew about all this stuff back then. I'm sure these guys in his lab knew some things,
That's like David Sarita with finally getting to talk to Boyd Bushman. If he hadn't gone and done those interviews, they wouldn't exist, and they're almost some of the only materials that we have from Boyd in his last days when he actually talks about this stuff, right? So many of these guys they disappeared. They died without anybody really having had the interest in that time or taking down the time to document it, and it's just a terrible shame because now we're like scuttering around in the sand trying to find fossils of what's left over, when if anybody would have just cared to document it all, we would have everything.
Well, that's what we're doing now. Luckily, I'm trying to do.
Yeah, but we're digging it backwards though, unfortunately.
So how long until we start uncovering footage of nowadays of what they're doing in the labs?
Never.
For that, you got to get yourself at least a third gen IR scope and go stare into the sky at night.
Yeah, so
you want to see what they're doing now.
There's this book by a guy named Dr. Morris K. Jessup called "The Case for the UFO," and it was based on the Carl Allende letters, but the Carl Allende turned out to be this guy Carl Allen, according to the research that we did. And we have all these archival footage. It's all at a library down in, we had to go to Clarksburg, West Virginia, to the Gray Barker archive in a little small private library. We had to book appointment ahead of time to get in the place. We copied everything from there. So Michael Schratt he goes to all these little archives and goes to, anytime there's an estate sale on all these people, he'll go to the family members and get stuff. And, so we got a list going of all the scientists right now. A big, pretty much a big, archive list of all the scientists on an Excel spreadsheet. I gotta go. I should find that and bring it up. But what we're gonna do is basically anytime we just keep an eye on all these scientists, so that if a lot of these guys are getting older and we're trying to if they don't come on the show and they're not willing to talk, then we go to their family,
See, I mean, that's what makes the cover up more plausible to me. is that it's just such an abstruse, it's such a, niche topic that it really
They
can
don't
be
need
held
to
within a
cover it
small
up.
group of people,
Is it that they are afraid to talk publicly, or they're afraid to talk at all? Because like, I understand like if they don't want to say anything, like, to like a video like this that can go out and anybody can see it, or like do they just want to like talk to anybody at all, even if it's like a private conversation that won't be documented, but like it still would give you more insight of like, well, now you have like some background knowledge that maybe you shouldn't know, but now you do know. Like, yeah, I feel like that kind of information like would help out immensely. Just even like, you're not supposed to be talking about it and nothing will be written down or recorded or anything, but just having insights of knowledge of things that you didn't even like think about or just are coming out of the box would help the community in general. Like maybe there should be like, somebody, obviously it's kind of hard to pick a certain person to like, oh yeah, they're just revealing all these secrets, but
I can shine a little light on somewhere.
Okay.
I can shine a little light on that only because I've called so very many people in trying to acquire information. I've talked to some pretty big names, and actually impressively, I've been able to get on the phone with a lot of these folks. There are some things that they will tell me and some things that they won't. The reasons for why they won't tell certain information to me or anybody else that's just calling them on the phone or having a casual conversation with them is, one, they could be under an NDA, still an active NDA. Two, and we've seen this with certain people that attend APEC, they could have friends or interested parties or people that have companies that have vested interests where they want to protect those people on a personal level, not even on a professional or legal level. So that's the second reason. Third, they have a personal vested interest to think that their knowledge or understanding about something is profitable or somehow beneficial to them. And so they want to capitalize on that leverage of being one of the few people that know it. And then for you have the opportunity where they feel like putting stuff out there could actually be a threat to their country. So these are the patriotic types. And this is one of, even when we just had Sarita on, he mentioned this, where putting out certain information about the construction of devices, he's just simply not going to talk about because of stuff that, say, for example, China or Russia doesn't currently have, according to him. And by putting that stuff out there, it would effectively give them information which he doesn't feel should be put out into the public yet. And he also feels that it could be dangerous for people to experiment around with it. So there's another reason. So there are lots of very good reasons actually not to release everything, but I do think that a lot of folks are tight-lipped because they have old ideas about how information should be protected or what's safe to say and what's not. And I think some of these old ideas are persistently obnoxious because times have changed and a lot of stuff is safe to talk. If there's really no good reason not to, people should start to come out. And it's a lot more accepting in the environment of the community now to listen to folks and to hear their stories and to seriously consider their ideas. It's something that's never existed before.
There's like a double-edged sword. Technology could be used for evil, and showing people how to build these things, which could potentially be used to build weapons, is true. It's like that. There's people that have make arguments about that stuff, but it's also at the same time is like this information exists. So there's bad guys that have it that could make weapons with it already, and they could be using it against us, and we'll have no idea what it is. And so I view it as like, no, the public should know about this, because if they're getting attacked with these kinds of things, they should really know about them, and they should do know research about these kinds of things if they feel like they're being attacked, so they can learn about things like antennas and how to record and monitor frequency sweeps. Like getting an SDR, you can get like a $300 piece of equipment and have a signals intelligence lab on your home computer for a fraction of the cost of what it would have been in the 70s or the 50 years ago or something. And you can monitor these kinds of things on your computer to tell and take data on them and know about these technologies. I don't know. I just don't feel like, I feel like we're trying to start a whole community of this needs to be we need to think of things on a global level. The reason that so much of the secrecy and suppression has existed is because we view each other around the world as adversaries. We view each other as enemies, and it's like we're gonna. of course, if we view each other as enemies, then and that's profitable to make weapons out of this stuff and kill each other with it, that's what people are going to do. But realistically, we think of how far we would have gotten if we were just like, all right, let's work together and really like focus on this stuff and make big progress and breakthroughs and use it to
right. It's like, do you have the
forward.
idea in your head that you're going to create prosperity with the technology that you've just acquired? Or do you have the idea in your head that it's dangerous and you need to use defensively or offensively because you're being driven by fear? So it's whether you're being driven by a sense of community, some might even call it love, or you're being driven by fear and trying to protect yourself, your assets, and isolate. So it's a totally different perspective, and they're sort of polar opposites when it comes down to how you implement things. It's whether you're going to be tight-lipped or whether you're going to be totally open source. So we're obviously trying to be on the open source side of things, and unfortunately, like even some of the stuff that's being presented to us, we have to be tight-lipped about because those individuals want to feed us information that will be relevant, but like we can't talk about who it's coming from. We can't talk about specifically what that is, but if we can adapt it based on what they say and make it different enough, then we can bring it out there. So that's our task, is to first replicate in silence and then publicly recreate with difference that's large enough where we can show we demonstrate an understanding of the technology so that we're not just copying it verbatim.
My strategy is...
But isn't copying it just good enough? Like just to show that...
Well, copying it is the beginning point. That's where you have to start with every experiment. And you try to copy. When you do an experiment in replication, you need to copy everything down to the detail as tightly as you possibly can. And I mean ridiculous, stupid things. Like if you look in a picture of a scientist setup or a student's setup, even just something that somebody wrote about a paper that you were interested in, and you look at that picture and you see some wires just twisted together instead of being like soldered or screwed onto a terminal block, you don't use a terminal block and you don't solder those or crimp them. You twist them together. Why? Because there could actually be something in the surface connection of those wires that's causing that effect. You have to replicate almost down to the T. It should look the same. Otherwise, you don't know, because a lot of these scientists, they discover anomalies that aren't understood, right? And even they can't explain them, but some of the papers talk about at least what they found. And so if you really want to figure out what they were seeing, you need to create possibly the same conditions. That means the same types of errors. And hopefully, if you do create that same condition and you get the same kind of effect, you can identify if it was an error. Because if you apply proper scientific method to it and you take a look at where your error contributions are, maybe you can find a mistake they made and find out that their results were actually invalid. And then hence you get goody points in the scientific community for invalidating somebody else's paper by a peer review. That's the whole peer review process, makes you look good if you can do that. So if there's motivation there by scientists to actually look at papers and try to invalidate them on a technical level, that's the point of submitting this stuff. So it's a good thing for us all to start looking at that and try to replicate it as precisely as possible. Otherwise, it's not really a good invalidation. And even folks like Martin Tamar are guilty of this, where he does an incredibly good job for the most part and gets really, really sensitive measurements, and everything is perfect from an academic level. But when you look at the actual implementation, there are a few small mistakes that actually make a very big difference in terms of the experimental outcome. And so hence a lot of people have problems with Martin Tamar's results, his reported results. And that's going to be an area of controversy probably forever until he addresses those points. But when he's asked about them, he pretty much blows people off. So I guess...
Well, it's weird because it's like, then you get these big articles, right? The impossible M drive doesn't work after all, and it seems like every 6 months another article comes out, debunking the M drive, and but they're all based on Martin Tamar's work.
Right, and then a little over a week ago, we get the inventor of the M drive on APEC who explains that these guys didn't do it right and why.
Right, and what's the crazy, right, is that I almost like I didn't even make the connection that it was like, who's this guy? Oh yeah, that's right. He's the inventor of this stuff.
This man is a legend. I didn't even know it.
It's like, and you never even heard of the guy before, but yet all these other scientists who supposedly replicate it and are saying it doesn't work are getting all the publicity and all the media attention, and it really makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder, like, yeah, this stuff is still being suppressed. Like,
all right, you want to start out with the replication of the M drive? Here's what you do. First off, on the small side of the M drive, get rid of the flat plate, put a dome, use that dome as a parabolic reflector, understand where your nodes are existing and where your waves are going to be canceling. You want to make sure that the positioning of the antenna can be changed or varied and tuned in order to really get your wavelengths tightly coupled. But getting rid of that flat plate is one of the first things that they did when they created the second generation of thruster devices, which massively increased the output. Like a whole order of magnitude.
Do you want to do a
better
screen
results.
share?
I don't have any of this stuff up. I'm recalling this all straight out of my brain. I see a picture very clearly in my head, but unfortunately the technology does not yet exist for me to put that on the screen. So I can't do a brain share. We'll get there someday. But it is on the APEC conference transmission, and I'm sure that you can look him up.
All right, so people can go on and find the APEC. If you go to American Anti-Gravity on YouTube.
It's alt propulsion, I believe, on the website too. You can get the links straight to the videos there. He posts everything. So Tim's been really good about updating that website and posting the links to the prior conferences. He spent a lot of time streamlining it. It looks quite slick. It's a nice looking website. I got to give him credit.
Who were the best Apex to watch? Because some of them are extremely long. And I never know which are the people that I should really pay attention to.
That's a question that's impossible to answer because it depends what area of interest you have, whether you're on the more theoretical side or whether you're on the more engineering side. If you want direct force propulsion technologies or if you're looking for warp drive, if you want to work and try to produce gravitational waves or detect them. It depends really what you're into because the APEC conferences cover such a wide range of topics. It's really hard to say where the best is. I could talk all day about the ones that were my favorites, but those are because the people that I had previously been studying before they ever went on and actually talked about their tech. And for me, I was just giddy for obvious reasons because I had been looking at these inventors for years before, and all of a sudden, here they are, my heroes, talking about their inventions and their patents. I'm like, wow, I never thought I'd see the day. I'm so glad I helped make this happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So those are my favorites, obviously, but that's just biased,
We wish more people were like in this community, right? If there's one APEC that you could show to someone who wasn't really into this stuff yet that you think would get them to latch on, which one would it be?
You know what we should do?
I think
we should actually do sort of like an APEC introduction, a history of what it is that
we need to do
people have done and want to do in other conferences that came before
like a
us.
Clips reel, a highlights reel of like the best of, where it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Exactly,
boom.
And that would be the one to send them. And I think that we
that's
definitely
like that press
have
conference
good reason to do it.
I'm writing this
like
down.
that briefing earlier.
Or
like,
that
was a good.
This is
that
why
was
I need
that
the
was a real
community,
good
community
brief.
brainstorm, bro. This stuff needs to go mainstream, bro. I need to get on Lex Friedman. I want to get on some of these bigger podcasts. This stuff needs to go mainstream, dude. Timcast is not doing it. It's not hitting this audience, the scientific audience, hard enough, and where it counts. We need to hit them in the ball, like.
In the ball.
I tagged my senators earlier to watch it. I was serious. I was like, nah, you guys.
I had a couple friends like, oh, dude, you shouldn't put the MK Ultra stuff in. That's gonna turn it all off, and it's not like technically really related to UAP and what this task force's mission is. I was like, this is like not just about this task force. This is about the fact that people do not have trust in their government because the government is lying, and they have been lying for 70 plus years about lots of stuff, and they've been killing people over it. Like a couple of men, I should have gone over a more like suspicious deaths that need to be investigated, section, because I could have added a lot more. In fact, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like, do you think that was a turn-off point? You think like the mainstream is going to see that?
I mean, not at all.
MK
that
Ultra
kind
assassins?
of explains like the way the conspiracy of it all comes from, because like. Just UFOs by themselves like caused this is a conspiracy alert, and then MK Ultra is a conspiracy, but that's a conspiracy that has been proven true and that are undeniable. So it's like that already proves the huge distrust in the people of our government. So it's like I see why you put it in there, and like you did a good job of like not making it the main focal point of the video. So like I think that was fine that it was in there. Like it's not like you went on like a tangent of like, oh, this happened, and like it was mostly like, well, there are, some things that the government has been known to do and like use these psychological mind games and everything like that. So yeah, that's kind of a thing too. So what happens if this is kind of like a psych op thing where this is really our military tech and
I think
our
most of it
like
is psych
highly
ops
classified
stuff.
stuff.
I think a lot of it has to do with psych ops, and it's important, and it needs to be added there because and also the MK Ultra Assassins program, like the programmed assassins stuff, it's not that far fetched. The guy who shot John Lennon immediately sat down and started reading The Catcher in the Rye. Why? When they arrested him, he had a gun by his side. John Lennon was shot dead in front of him, and he was sitting there just reading The Catcher in the Rye, calm as a fucking could be, like nothing had happened.
Did he even realize that there was a dead man sitting in front of him, or was he so hypnotically still possessed at that point he was just gone?
Yo, this is verified stuff, and it lends credibility to it because it shows the extent that mind control can go to. And how that it's not that hard. It's like science, and it's not well understood science in the mainstream, but it is nonetheless real. And the people have experimented with this and shown that it does work. You just got to find
it works.
You got to find the right person that it will work on. Sirhan.
Or you have to create the conditions for that person to experience the necessary stimuli.
And Forrestal.
You can force it.
God, yeah, the whole Forrestal thing in Bethesda Naval Hospital was worth mentioning too. It's just all related, bro. It just shows like the extent that they went through for the cover up. I don't know. I think it was all important. I think it was all the stuff that I've researched over 16 years in the field of researching this stuff that really was like stuck out to me as like, yo.
We need an eye on this.
Right. If I had a Senate investigation and power and subpoena power and stuff, what would I look into, and what do I think is the most important, like most relevant stuff that is legit? That's not just this, disinfo, Flatwoods Monster, Jersey Devil, Mothman, typical
UFO bull, crazy tinfoil stuff.
That's a perfect.
Don't like how like that Walter Bosley guy.
Speaking of tinfoil stuff, let's talk about the super cavitator. He got the ultrasonicator.
Oh yeah, geez, I guess. Okay, fine. I will go take a piece of foil and fold it up for you guys. And if you want to watch, piece of foil dissolve very, very quickly using only sonic vibrations. You can see that.
Yes, super cavitation.
It's 100 watts in a pretty small volume. We're going to put 100 watts into about 10 cc's of water. And the energy concentration will be high. Well, yeah, tap. It's very special because it's got all kinds of loads of fun chemicals like lead and fluoride and who knows what else. Maybe today it has cryptosporidium, which is a thing that's happened in the in the city's water supply where I'm located. So who knows what it'll have today? It's just a fun adventure. That's why you should never drink the tap water here.
Yes. This is the opposite of memory foil. This is forget me foil. This is like,
you also shouldn't drink anything with aluminum in it because that's a pretty bad idea. Aluminum is rather toxic for the human nervous system. So is mercury.
I don't think I'm broadcasting.
Shout out to Newman.
Funny. Hey, what's up, Tom? Cool. How's it going? Nice headgear.
What's Tom rocking today?
Welding and
it's kind of quiet.
Oh, magnifier.
Magnifier
headpiece.
Nice.
Stereo optic. Okay, so I want something fairly cylindrical, approximately the same diameter of the test apparatus. Let's see if I can find something better than what I was using.
Super cavitation is definitely interesting though. Apparently they use it on like torpedoes. It's like I don't know if it's classified, but you can still find videos of information of it on YouTube. But basically it they basically produce like a gas around the torpedo as they shoot it to put it in like a bubble, so that way as they shoot it out, it can move at like Mach speeds or like faster than normal because it's producing the cavitation around itself, but I think it's doing with like compressed gas or some other way. Yeah, from what I've like gathered. I'm assuming they're using compressed gas because that would make the most sense, especially at those lower depths.
Hey, so
Is the cavitation?
Wow!
oh,
Whoa!
guy, whose mic is
It's Tom. Yeah, Thomas's.
Thomas?
I think he turned it out, but it's super distorted. Better.
No,
Better,
no,
still
it's-
distorted.
Dude, you sound like your robot, like or something. It sounds. Like, we got to get Tom a good mic.
Switch headsets. Screw this one.
Try the setting. Oh, I think I actually, bro, like I had to return like 2 gaming headsets because the mics were so garbage. I just had to get some stupid USB mic. Jeez.
Yeah, I was on with Walter Bosley the other night, and he talked about the mic that he got. It was like only $150, and it's a USB plug-in, but it's still a condenser mic, and it was he had really great sound. So
I don't know, man. If you're paying that much, you can get a audio interface and like a Shure mic, like $100 Shure mic for. It's like the same quality as like live performance and studio stuff too.
that's what I got. I went and got a couple Shure mics for my studio, and then I have this other mic. So I'm good on mics now, man. And no matter how good the mic is that you have, people always tell you your audio sucks. And sorry about that.
Nah, it's good.
You know,
Sounds good to me.
I can hear you guys fine. I guess.
But yeah.
How about now? Is it still distorted?
No, that
Nah,
sounds
it's
much
perfect.
better. That sounds much better, man. That was like you were coming through. First, it came through at like
Same
max.
brand of headset, man. Do you see that?
Dude, it's the Corsairs, bro. I have the same one, man.
Max volume.
Gives me so much problems.
Well, I've got. They're slightly different. There's not much difference.
This
but
one, yeah, it's not plugged in.
I think it's just. I think it's just the settings. Are screwed
Yeah,
up
dude.
more.
He's got the exact one I got.
this one too.
Yeah. There's like the RGB. The other, yeah, he's got the RGB. You got the regular. Yeah.
It's got this.
Right.
Okay, yeah,
If
now
tried
I
to
remember
talk
what
to
I was,
anybody with that one. Since I replaced the battery went dead on it, and I put like a double capacity battery on it. So it's a little tight, but
It doesn't work bad. I almost want to just send that to someone who needs a mic. So, but you already have that.
Rip.
No, it's much better now, Tom. It came through at max volume before. It was just like anyone who's listening, like in the car.
Yeah.
got a little.
My
scared.
headphones hurt.
Stuff.
sorry about that.
I'm awake now.
Wow.
3 in the morning.
See, I ain't watching. It's me, bro.
Oh yeah, but on a point of like super cavitation, like it's like some guy like just made like a replication of it, like in his like with a nail, basically. I think he like charged it. I think you can also do it with like an electrical charge, produce the super cavitation effect. So he did it with like a nail. I think he did it 3 different times with different diameters. And like you can see the bubble appear like right in front of it. I think he was tied it to like some boat and got it to like about 9 miles per hour before the effect like really was visible. But even still, it was like interesting. It kind of reminded me of like different ways of like moving through a medium that like we've always went through the boats or whatever with propellers, but like the super cavitation was like, well, if you can do it at these like kind of low speeds, obviously you can do it at the higher speeds. And it kind of also reminded me of like if they were doing the effect of having the electric having the electric field like on the tips of wings to like make them fly faster, kind of doing the same effect, but just with water.
The water field versus the ether field, bro. Same thing.
And that's another thing too. Is in Paul Laviolette's book. Paul Laviolette is the one that said that they were doing this on the X1 and the nose cone of the X1 to break the sound barrier. But like I was doing a bunch of research into the X1 the other day, and I couldn't find anything related to that. And it also doesn't make sense because if Brown wasn't doing these experiments at the Bonson Labs until 56, 59, that was a decade earlier in 47 when they broke the sound barrier. So it's the timeline's off too. So I don't. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, the only thing I had heard is that they use the technology to keep the planes up longer. I think that was with the later spy planes.
I almost want to get Paul Laviolette back on, but like I was so let down and disappointed with his APEC presentation that I don't know. That was like a big letdown for me, man. His book was so great for 2009, and I'm like 10 years later, he's got to have like a decade later.
Revelation.
He's got to have something like real awesome on this, but it was like no, nothing. And the one question I asked
Just a prank, bro.
I was just like, man. And then he had all this other esoteric Scientology, like whatever that. Not Scientology. What is it? The
tinfoil
subjects stuff. Yeah, it was tinfoil stuff, and I'm like, God damn it! Why?
Disinformation.
So that you can go down good rabbit holes and bad rabbit holes. I feel, but maybe that's I don't know. I don't.
That sounds like the kind of stuff where when Jeremiah was talking earlier, I was thinking, before you try to like line out where to start or what's where, you might want to tell people, look, man, are you looking to roll your sleeves up or are you looking to spectate?
Yeah.
And if that changes, then like you change your position on what you what direction you would give for somebody that's been in it and they're already waiting around in it.
But he didn't just
around in it versus somebody who's just coming in. You're trying to like give them some information because they're asking.
But Laviolette didn't just roll his sleeves up, dude. He took his shirt off in the first opening thing.
No.
He threw all of modern science in the trash and called it disinformation.
Right. Sorry. To tie it, the reason it tied into that was because that's the kind of stuff that somebody who's just wanting to speculate, that would be fine.
Yeah.
That's entertainment.
No, I know.
I mean? You got to have you have to have your village idiot.
Oh man,
they're
was
entertaining.
Like, oh god. I was like cat out the like. All right, everything's on the table now. Oh man, it's one of the best tested and most well respected theories in the entire world. It's like literally, you're arguing against that. So it's people call it nonsense and they call it madness. And it is. Most of the people that are trying to avoid mainstream physics or call it all a fraud without understanding it or like citing it or
right.
I don't know. It's
he didn't get in and really give a good solid explanation for how he can explain these things.
Yeah.
With his theory. Instead, he just said, "Hey, we're just going to throw this stuff away."
It's like charlatanism, man. That's a huge turnoff for me, man.
What that is that's basically jumping up and slapping someone instead of introducing an idea and then seeing.
That's why I made the analogy.
And if it takes root, then basically it might push another idea aside because it becomes the dominant theory that explains things better than what came previously, which is how science is supposed to work. Not you guys all need to basically just shut up and get in the corner. Just shut up, turn around, and get in the corner.
Yeah, but he should have had something.
I don't believe any of you.
I know.
DeBay's 20
it's all organized.
Good example of that. That's all that guy is doing is just slapping people, telling them to shut up because the world's flat. It's like,
yeah.
Your 20 proofs are just one proof that you keep repeating over and over in different ways.
Oh, and that's crazy how
it's so easy to discount by just doing a couple simple tests. So get out of here, man.
But it's just crazy because it's like even the nut jobs, right? Even the tinfoilers, they sometimes have some little bits of some information that they got that's good.
Well, and that's why you want to see what they've done.
Yes.
The heck with what you think. Show me what you got.
Yeah, show me what you've done. That's what we're.
Show me where what you have created with your rolled up sleeves, and then like Jeremiah was saying, we replicate exactly, make sure we verify, and then from there you can start making modifications and play what is it?
Mine has racing stripes.
Process of elimination. You know.
Show me what
So-
you got.
So I know, Chris, you mentioned trying to show this stuff to your friends, and they're like, "Oh, not this stuff again." Look, bro, you try to show me this, but I'm never gonna watch it, right? You said that you said that earlier, and it was like kind of like broke your heart a little bit. Man, I understand where you're at with that. That's why I kind of put this like summary thing together, because no one has the time to go into all the details of this stuff unless they're super into it. Right, so you got to like give them some reason to get into it, and give them a broad bird's eye view of pick out what they want to look into.
There's no reason to force anything on anybody either. Sometimes compartmentalization just occurs naturally.
But they have a general idea of it.
Sometimes
Right,
it's
you may
not
have 100
disinformation;
friends
it's
that
just
only
misinformation.
one is really into it, and when you talk about this stuff with somebody, it's that person you end up talking to.
Yes.
When you talk to them, you're talking to them about the game, or the last time they screwed up and got a headshot because they ran right in the middle in a line of fire in a Doom Master or something online.
Right.
So.
Well, like they have a general idea. Like they're not like ignorant to like what your channel is. Like they definitely know like you're probably the closest to like the kind of information pipeline of it kind of being more reputable, instead of just being like, oh yeah, well I heard from a government source that talked to his buddy that I've talked to too. It's like there's too many like in betweens. It's like this is what I've gathered and this is the information shown, and it's like you be the judge of what I present to you. Like they get all that, and like they know that you're about the UFOs and everything, so they're not ignorant. They just don't have the time or like kind of want to watch the video in terms of like the technical breakdowns.
Christian,
that's why I like it. Yeah.
Here's something I think that might be a confusion. Jeremy's not APEC. He's his own entity. He's interfacing with it, but they're two separate things. So that guy that started giving that crazy spew about dumping all that stuff in the trash, that's not alien scientist.
No, I know,
In
but
fact,
like the
what
info
I see
dumps
is,
as well is
right,
mostly what I
see
try
is
and show.
Alien Scientist has been, everything I've seen coming from Jeremy is more about like, we've got all this unexplained stuff. Would somebody please look into this and let's find out what's really going on, regardless of what it is. I just want to know. Don't give us this song and dance about how you don't have time when you spend millions or billions of dollars on gender studies for Pakistan. And yet you can't look into this stuff that might actually yield something useful, and it's bothering people that the information is not out there. So it might actually be, if there's nothing there and it can be explained, and we get the facts behind it, it might actually free up more people's mental resources, so they'll get more done in our society because they're not thinking about that anymore. Now they can focus on something else. But if there is something there, why not exploit it if it's useful?
Okay. Didn't think about it like that.
Which fits really well with the replicators, because they're basically going, well, since you can't really trust the paperwork or the word of this person or that person, let's just take what they've put on paper and try it out and see what we get.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this discussions I prefer is the scientific one, and the bottom line is, can this stuff be done? Is there any truth to it? Is there a cover up that's going on? Because it seems to be with what's covered and what's not, and I just like to get both sides of the story and not just read headlines and be like, oh look, Wired said it was debunked. It's debunked. Hey,
right.
Yeah.
Hey. You know what I mean?
Or keep harping and saying it's true. It's true. It's like that. Neither one of those arguments does any good.
I'm curious.
And
I
want to get off this
interested
planet.
In arguing. You're interested in getting to the facts.
Yes. And there's so much of this, and there's so much evidence of suppression, and so much hidden history. I wanted to document it all, and document and do more interviews and get more. I don't know, and just get more of it on paper, man, because there's not enough people doing this, and I've sort of created a hub for all this, and trying to connect, all the right people, and also I need a whole production team to get all the video that I'd like to get done, man. It would be.
I was gonna say something you need as a resource.
Commander.
Basically, anytime somebody has has made an attempt, and they get either a positive or a negative verification to start compiling all that. Like, not just, not show anybody whenever something doesn't work. No, show us everything. Show us
Yeah.
every failure too, because if you don't know about the failures, then you don't know, if something was
Right.
possible, and it's being hidden, it's being covered up.
Or just it was people were mistaken, right? So it could have been
Right.
in that footage we watched just a little while ago on the Biefeld-Brown replications from 1956 at Bonson Labs. What if it was just the wire that was causing it? The electric, the electric. Some of these other false positives that we've identified in our own experiments. What if that's what was really going on then, and they were just getting false positives, and they were celebrating too early, and then people jump to conclusions, and what if that is the case? You have to consider all these things. You can't. I mean, as much as I really want this to be true, and want to believe that we really do have anti-gravity technology, it was easy enough to figure out in 1959, and it really has been covered up, and I really are disclosing it now. I'd like to be skeptical of myself and not jump to those conclusions and stuff, but that's not what makes headlines in the news. Apparently, I don't know.
Any ability to manipulate gravity in any shape, form, or fashion will go leagues toward explaining and understanding what the hell it even is, because we still don't really have a solid grasp on it. We have a bunch of theories, but nobody really knows exactly what it is. That's part of the reason they call it the weak force, because it is a very weak reaction compared to a lot of the other forces that we're able to manipulate, whether it's static or magnetism, or even just the contact effect. Whenever you make contact, and
Triboelectric.
it's harder to pull away once you've made contact versus when you go to approach something and it pushes away.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jeremy, I've got the experiment set up here.
There you go.
Anytime you're ready for it.
Let's go.
Front and center it.
All right, let's give Jeremiah the floor.
Full screen this.
I suppose I can leave my audio on. I'm going to tell you guys now, it'll sound really loud on the camera, but it won't actually be that loud in person. The camera's going to pick up the ultrasonic vibrations, and they'll be directly translated into square wave peaking. So I can leave it on for a second, but audio warning for you folks. Okay, so I'm going to shine a flashlight in there. This is going to happen quick. So in the bottom of this transducer cup arrangement is a little bit of water on top of the foil, and it's going to happen fairly fast. So here we go. Let me just position this over a little bit. There we go. Okay. And power.
Let's go.
What's going to start to happen is you're seeing these little bumps here. Right?
Oh, that's cool. Yo, that sounded dope. Looks like it's an acid and it's like just being eaten away. Yo, that sounded so cool.
Oh, wow. That's the sound of aluminum atoms.
Evaporating. I don't even know what being transmogrified. What would you even call that?
Now I'm going to show you
that's
the
sound of
interesting
your
part. That was
cat
not
going
the interesting
flying.
part. That is the sound of aluminum foil screaming at the very end of its life.
Yes.
As it's torn apart into tiny little pieces. Its last desperate cry for help, but nobody will hear it. Transmutation will win the day. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah. Look at those cavitations.
Yeah, those are legitimate holes.
Legit.
Well,
Okay.
if you
Eating
take
through
a
it, that's
torch or something
cool.
and heat a piece of like an aluminum can or something, and then hold it up to the light, you'll see
It'll
these
become
little
clear.
pinpricks that form on it, but they're
Yes.
not actually holes.
Yes.
They're little like passages of aluminum oxide.
Wally said he's going to
wow.
set that as his ringtone.
Excellent, excellent, Smithers.
Yes.
So here, let me shut the lights off for a second. And take a look.
Would an ultrasonic knife be possible?
Sorry about that noise. Just realized the headphones knocking against the counter was probably loud.
God.
Yeah, that reminds me now. I can turn.
Was
this
it
back.
terrible? There we go.
Not
Look
really.
at
It cut,
wow.
it cut it out most of the time.
Wow, look at those micro pits. You got to
Oh
get
man,
that under
that's
a
even
microscope.
cooler. I'm sorry. I just noticed something.
You have to send me some of that so I can get some I want to get some
What? Look at this. This is like way
It looks like
cooler.
a starry
yeah.
night.
Starry Night
Yeah.
projector. That's awesome.
That's cool. It looks like those formation patterns on Mars that are created electrically.
Like due to static electricity because of all the dust storms.
Party.
Party. All right. Well, that's that demonstration. So yeah, you can tear it apart pretty fast. I mean, those cavitation bubbles are serious business. They do not care. They'll tear that stuff right into shreds.
So what happens like when the have to tear it apart? Like what does it basically become part of the liquid or
Okay, so what happens? You mean what happens at the very small scale? Like, why is it becoming these tiny particles? Why is it getting ripped into shreds?
Well,
what you're asking?
what happens to the particles afterward? Where did they go? Like, are they just being added to the water, or?
Yeah, they initially get added to the water, and then they'll be pushed around by the currents produced by the ultrasonic vibrations. And if they should happen to end up at the very center of one of these little puncture marks, one of the holes that forms as a result of a cavitation bubble concussively imploding or exploding in that region, it'll leave a tiny little hole behind, or it'll leave a perfectly distorted piece of foil behind, which helps carry the wave to the other side. So if a piece of foil gets in that region, it gets hit with a 20,000 mile an hour velocity spike of crystallized water. And the reason why the water crystallizes is because it's going so fast, and because it was just charge separated by being ripped apart at a super high speed, that it collapses in on itself because the water was effectively pulled apart where there was a bubble. There shouldn't be a bubble at that pressure. It collapses in, and when it does, the highest velocity part shoots way past the other side of the bubble, shoots through, and as a result, it all gets focused into this sort of beam like a spike, just a few atoms wide at the tip. And it's traveling so fast the water self-organizes into something like a crystal. So when it hits matter, when it hits the aluminum chunk that's sitting in front of it, and it rolls it around, the speed and velocity of the energy that's contained in that impact can theoretically rip down to the proton and start to tear it apart or transmute it.
That's cool. Wow.
If you've never heard of a star in a jar, have you ever heard of the star in a jar? It's where either one or two, you can do it either way. You can use one or two ultrasonic transducers positioned on either side of a containing sonic vessel, which would just be filled with water. So it'd be like a glass jar or a square container with plexiglass walls or whatever, and you have transducers perfectly positioned across from each other. They would send vibrations through the water, and when they would hit each other at the dead center, as resonance would build up, energy would be so high that the water will expand, it'll cavitate, expand, and then when it crashes in on itself, it crashes in so friggin' hard that it actually produces photons and light, because it's tearing the electrons straight off the water, and they have so much momentum that when they impact, all that extra energy gets produced as a photon that we see as a little blue flash. and it just kind of happens in the very center of this vessel filled with water with clear sides.
Wow.
So they call it a star in a jar. And it's a really fascinating demonstration of how you can use nothing but sound, and only sound, to make water turn into light. Effectively,
I've
it's
never
like,
actually heard
wizardry.
of that. That is awesome.
That's insane.
I'm sure
I didn't know
Jeremy
that was a thing.
can
That's
pull
cool.
up the video for his live audience to show what that
So-
looks like, or at least a
So
picture.
in theory, wouldn't you be able to like have like multiple to like condense the space even further? You know, like having them equally spaced, like I guess like
Yes, you mean can you harmonically phase multiple transducers in order to farther compress the space and stay, instead of say just using the two, sort of like the same question of can you use 5 magnetrons in a microwave oven instead of just using the one?
yeah.
The answer is yes, you can. It's possible. The long answer is it's very difficult because you have to tune all those transducers so that all the wavefronts line up perfectly. And the good news is that transducers are far slower than the speed that the electricity travels through the wires, so it's not difficult to feed them with a synchronous signal. The bad news is that as the water gets compressed, the speed that the wave travels through it changes. So one set of transducers that's slightly off sync from another won't pull them in and try to combine the waveforms. They'll generally destructively interfere, creating high frequency noise and transients. Those actually can be useful, but in terms of creating the singular event, which is the largest cavitation event at the highest velocity possible with the highest energy possible, they actually help destroy the physical geometric structure of that cavitation toroid. And so that is something that you don't want ultimately. And it would be better to use larger transducers or stacks of transducers on top of each other from the same position than it would be to use an array of multiple transducers from all kinds of different angles. It'll just allow you to concentrate your energy a little bit better. It's just practical. I mean, you don't have to do it that way. You could do it with an array of transducers. So I'm just recommending maybe a way that would make it a little easier.
You guys ever see the magnetron beam weapons by Kriozan English? Kreosan.
Yeah, we've seen those guys.
Cool.
He's fun.
Great.
Those videos are a lot of fun. People playing around with high voltages that they have no idea what exactly the level is, but it's high enough to be a lot of fun. He's pretty smart too. I got to give the guy credit because his
Is that the
his
Russian
chat-
phones from like 50 feet away?
Yeah, it's a Russian
it
channel.
makes the battery like spark. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
following.
Like 100 feet away. Maybe that's what happens when those fucking phones are exploding. Oh,
That
too
video is probably not legit, by the way. Just an FYI, but there is a way to make that system work, and it could be legit. There's a key that I've seen in every replication attempted that tries to do what he did, and I want to point it out for especially Jeremy, your audience, because if these guys want to try, also Kreosan has this. What do they call it? The microwave EMP cannon or something like that. I should really look it up. Jeremy, you should look it up and show us what the link to that video is. Anyway, so it's this arrangement of 3 different magnetrons around a soup can positioned around a rolled aluminum cone, and they're all attached together to form this transmitting resonator where the 3 magnetrons are heated. The cathodes are heated by a onboard 18650 battery pack array, and then the magnetrons are then fired at a high voltage through a impulse transformer type of taser, which has a fairly high energy output. Now, here's where the catch comes in. Other people who have tried to replicate that device and tried to use those magnetrons have made the correlation correctly that as you increase the voltage across them, the current simply goes up, which means that you need a device that can deliver very high impulse currents as well. There are 2 ways to do that. One, you can just charge high energy capacitors into the thing, and that's a great way to do it. But secondly, if you want really fast pulses, you have to use a taser transformer that actually has a secondary taser transformer dedicated for pulse operation. This would be like a trigger transformer for flashes. What you find on eBay today is devices called taser devices, which are actually voltage multipliers, and they do not contain a pulse transformer whatsoever. Therefore, they can't deliver the impulse output that would be required to drive that kind of device. So something to be noted, if you're going to try to drive magnetrons and pulse them to get a high energy, high amplitude output, you need to drive them with the correct kind of waveform output, which would either be a capacitor or a pulse transformer. But do avoid voltage multipliers. It's not the right approach.
And I think you're above most of our you're above most of our level on electrical engineering.
Somebody will hear it and know what I'm talking about, and if they're trying to make it, at least they can hear that.
You got two people.
That's cool,
Well, hopefully more people hear it later. I don't really know who wants to try to build that thing, but if they do, at least at least get that part of the replication correct, because that's a part that hasn't been done correctly by others.
This guy Bernard is in the live chat. I'm showing his video right here. He did this experiment.
What are we looking at? This looks cool.
Yeah, I just watched that video on Star in a Jar. That looks cool. Like that definitely does look interesting. It kind of reminds me of like kind of like a fusion device in a sense.
Exactly. Now you ask yourself the question, what happens if I put certain types of metals or materials into that area where that event is occurring? What would it do to them with all that concentrated energy?
Yes.
What happens if it was deuterium water too?
Indeed.
And how does that relate to the fact that we don't have a theory that connects the weak force with the other forces? And
this looks like electroplating.
Will deuterium water be sweet?
I literally just saw a video for that.
You've been watching Thunderfoot?
It was like,
he called it.
Yeah.
Thunderfoot's the man, though. He does he at least does the experiments and the math, and he's pretty thorough, man. He's a big letdown, though. He's a big friggin' bummer, man. Those solar roadways.
Oh yeah.
So
he's
hopeful
definitely
for solar roadways.
He's definitely one of those Darth entities, you know, like Darth Danzy.
He destroyed my
you always
illusions.
come around shitting on all our dreams.
Oh, let's play solar roadways, dude. Oh. That's a classic. If we're gonna do some we should do some Thunderfoot. Solar roadways. Oh, this was gold. I remember everybody shared this freaking thing, and I was like, I'm skeptical of the engineering. You know, I was definitely. I didn't share it right away, but I was definitely skeptical of the engineering, but I was
Freaking roadways! I mean, what a great idea to replace all of the roads in America with smart technology.
Where we can
It's
harvest so much
technology
solar
that
energy,
replaces all
we
roadways,
actually
parking
start
lots,
affecting the
sidewalks,
climate of the
driveways,
planet.
tarmacs,
You know?
bike paths, and outdoor
crazy.
recreation services with solar.
What would that even look like? I mean, wouldn't we need like
no,
batteries?
Don't worry about it, because if you suck down that energy and it doesn't become just heat or whatever, and you store it, eventually when you use it, it's going to become heat again anyways, and sort of return back to the environment. So you're just deferring the entire event and sort of stabilizing the environment, if
Kind of
anything.
like when you grow trees and then you defer that carbon from the atmosphere until the tree dies and it rots and turns back into carbon dioxide.
Downside could such a project
I wasn't talking about
Damn,
a lack of environmental impact. That's a fact. I was talking about more so like the total heat management of a system. If you had a totally efficient solar panel where all the heat and all the light were converted into electricity, would that actually affect the planet? If instead of that energy staying here, it was just absorbed and converted, well, it would eventually return.
I didn't think it would affect the planet.
Management of the planet unless you
Maybe the
start
creation
collecting
of
this
all
stuff
the devices.
outside of the atmosphere in front of the planet. So
I've learned the planet's pretty good at dealing with a whole lot of change.
Right.
We, on the other hand, we kind of like to have a little zone of existence that we should live in for our own
freezing
survival.
right now, man.
because they provide
Yeah.
a waterproofing
We should probably not ruin that
I've got a
for
polar bear
ourselves.
for a roommate.
facilities for large-scale glass. The cost of the solar cells, and that's not the cost of the
suck.
manpower to bring all of these.
When I first saw this stuff, man, I
transport system
already
that would go along
went to look.
every road.
There's a
Because
ton of
otherwise,
quartz.
generating power
We call it
you
a
cannot
desert.
effectively
There's plenty of
road
sunlight
system.
out there too.
And on top of this, all of
It's
their
not that
road
hard to put
engineers-
an array of mirrors together
And
and
we
put
only
together
like
like
to build
a
the road.
transparent
Well, let's start with the obvious.
atmospheric control chamber, so you can start melting that stuff and make bricks, solid bricks of quartz that have a small cavity underneath to hold your solar panels. That we don't have to go through all this nonsense of having to have specialized glass. That if you look at the videos that he's shown where he's gone out there and looked at it, it's just pitted all the hell and destroyed. And there've just been people walking on it. They've not been driving around on it, grinding rocks and pebbles and sand and whatnot into it with car tires. But if you scratch up like the surface of a piece of quartz and you're not like leaving, deposits on it to block it, it's not going to hurt the solar panel underneath. The solar panel is still going to receive the same amount of light because you're just basically diffusing it to make sure the whole panel is getting light. And if you don't give the whole cell light, it drastically affects its output. Just like if you have a string of solar panels, solar cells, and you put your hand over just one, all of the rest stop producing power. You just basically effectively like snipped everything in between those. So you want it to spread out and cover everything.
Yeah, I don't know the science on that, but I know or I've heard small stuff can affect like rooftop solar.
Right. What about the science of this though? A piece of glass that's 1/8 of an inch thick, or even 3/16 of an inch thick, or an inch thick, versus a block that's say 4, 5, or 6 inches thick. Which do you think is going to last longer when trucks are driving on it?
Which do you think is going to cost more? Which is going to be harder to install? Though that's also a serious consideration.
No. That's just it. I eliminated 99% of the cost because most of the cost comes from all of this energy that we're extracting in order to basically do the work of basically turning sand into glass, and there's tons of that energy already there called sunlight. You just set up a bunch of mirrors to point it all at one central area. Mirrors are not that hard to come by. I mean, how much does it cost to buy some Mylar? You know? You could even just use the shiny side of aluminum foil on something mechanically flat like a piece of MDF. I mean, there is an affordable way it could be done. You could put together something where you just pour sand through a pinch point where all that light's converging and it liquefies and has enough energy that when it hits a mold at the bottom that's on a conveyor belt, it just fills it up and then moves along. And once it cools off, it drops the brick out and comes back around so you can fill it up again, something like a graphite mold or something on a chain with a bunch of them. So that's the most expensive part of it. Melting all that quartz, that sand that's out in the desert is basically quartz. What aluminum oxide is in it, if you've got enough energy, it won't matter because it's not going to affect blocking the light that you want your solar cells to receive anyway. I think the biggest drawback to any of this is that the solar panels are going to get hotter than hell because they're completely trapped underneath whatever it is that they're on out there in the road. You don't have, like, solar panels on your roof, there's a gap between them and your roof. They're set up like that on purpose so that way the heat can evaporate off of it into the atmosphere underneath and on top as well. You know, you're giving it.
And so solar has zero environmental impact.
So.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yo.
It says only the host can share content in this meeting. I think I can attach or share a video somehow or possibly if you enable it.
You can't. There's no link to it online anywhere to post it?
No, it's on my phone. I just, you would have to enable share content, I guess.
Let me give you the host.
I don't know if that would do it. I guess you can just probably change the option. I've never done that.
I'm just going to make you the host. I trust you, man.
I'll give it a try. I'll see if this allows me to do it, and then you'll have to tell me how to give you back the host.
Virus enabled.
Oh, crap. I gave it to the CIA watching instead. Damn it. This
Great. He has control of all our systems.
There we go.
Worry about they had control already.
Deletes the channel. Oh, God.
I'm very interested in hydroelectric as well.
Have you guys seen the solar death ray? There's like a million different versions of it out there.
I feel like at this point, like, just thinking of all the different things, I feel like the solar death ray is one of those, like, can be a super low budget super weapon. You know, it wouldn't really cost too much to make. All you really need is super polished mirrors and or like, you know, kind of special lenses or even meta lenses, you know, to help with everything. And bam.
What is that? So that's just like a super big magnifying glass to enhance this or something?
Okay, guys, I don't know if this is coming through. I don't know if audio is coming through on this. So,
oh yeah, loud and clear.
I'm showing you a very angry little monster there that's tearing apart the foil.
Vibrate everyone's valves.
That's just regular tin foil?
That's regular tin foil and nothing but tap water. But you can see that one is concentrated there, and it's quite angry, and it's actually going to grab that foil and drag it over here.
Is this underwater?
No, it's just very near the surface of the water. There's just a little bit of water on top of that.
Wow.
I don't want to assume. When you say tin foil, you mean aluminum foil, right?
Yeah, I was responding to the same call, but yes, it's purely aluminum. It's not tin. It's definitely not tin, but it would do this to tin as well. This is another video, I think, just showing from the start. Let me see if I can scroll back here and take a look at some of the fast eating videos. Let's see, some fun ones. Oh, those were fun too. I guess I can show that too. Why not? Why not?
Did you smoke inside of a plasma ball?
It's a weird kind of daylight light bulb, and it just looks super awesome when you give it high frequency impulses of 20 kVAC. It's like, well, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a plasma ball.
That's crazy, bro. That's sick.
And it does a sparkly thing too. I thought, wow, what is that? That looks like an old, kind of like static on a CRT TV.
You should show them your laser too.
Gotta watch out for radiation around stuff like that, though. Hey.
Luckily, the atmosphere is not low enough in that bulb where I'm particularly worried about radiation. I'm just gonna show you some pictures here so we can see, and you can see some of the cavitation bubbles here, and it's amazing to notice how closely in size they are. They're really, really all very similar, and
like pinpricks.
They like to distance themselves out too. So they'll oftentimes show up at perfect spacing apart from each other spherically. It's like the the resonant nodes will form the size of the bubble, and then they'll be aligned with each other, so that they space themselves out evenly. So that's just one of the up close. We can kind of take a look at what it does just when it eats through, and you can see sort of how it starts in the center and it surrounds it with these other little pricks. So this is when
same thing you're doing. It does not behave like the foil.
Aluminum scrap, you said?
Yeah, it's much thicker than just your real thin aluminum foil that's been extruded to wrap on food. So it doesn't have the same effect. In fact, the only reason I knew it was working was that after I'd been running it for about 30 minutes, that's in xylene, by the way, it's not in water, but the xylene started turning a bluish tint from the particles of aluminum that were basically diffused into it.
Bluish? Oh, that's really interesting. So these were tiny particles of aluminum then. I mean, you were really just shredding it. So what were you using to...
Xylene.
In an ultrasonic bath?
Xylene's only aluminum, or carbon and hydrogen, though. There's no oxygen. That's why I was doing it, to protect it from being oxidized. So...
Electron gang.
By the way, if you're wondering about that guy's,
hey, good diodes, yeah.
Diodes, right? They came, so took about 2 weeks.
Now I'm really still thinking about this
Jeremy,
ultrasonic confinement stuff.
Hey, Jeremy, you still around?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're the host again. Just letting you know.
Hey, when you get a chance too, Jeremiah, send me any the paperwork you've got for the specific dynamic shape of those the wavy
the wavy plates
capacitor. Yeah, like you had some that were red and blue, and it looked like they had some actual measurements written down on them and whatnot, as well as showing a single one by itself and then showing multiples and all that nonsense.
We've made so many iterations, honestly, I don't remember specifically which one you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Can you give a rundown of like the best experimental setup for people in the audience? And
yeah, do that.
That'd be cool. And man, we got to get Bernard on here to start showing off some of his videos and telling us about what he's working on too at some point. Hey. I don't know, Bernard, do you want me to get you on? You mentioned before in some of your emails that you wanted to get on the show, and
yeah, absolutely. Just need a few more days here to get a full setup and more of my videos uploaded from hard drives online so they can be referenced and stuff.
Okay, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what it took me like 2 weeks to get that presentation that I did earlier today together, and that's kind of like what I'm encouraging a lot of people to do. Like, pretend it's like the last year of the universe, and like all of humanity's gonna go to shit after 2021, because it's what it's going on right now. It's all going to fucking hell in a handbasket. So get all your best work out there and put it like in a summary like right now. And I'm encouraging like everyone that I know like who's done work out there right now to start doing this.
100%, my friends. I'm going to be doing a few series of videos and collabs with a couple other channels that we're working with right now as well. And then Rex over at Leak Project, they're saying they're down for doing an interview with you as well to get some more information and cross exposure out there.
That's what it's all about, man. It's building this network and just getting everyone, communicating so that they can get the information and have access to it. Because it's all out there, but people just don't know how to find it or where it is. And
exactly. 100%, my friends. Couldn't agree more.
Well, I look forward to getting you on here in the near future, and this is going to be awesome. I'm glad that we need to collaborate and we joke with each other, and it's all right if we don't disagree from time to time, and it can get better and between some people in the community and stuff. But I want to keep an open line with everybody, even the people that like I've talked shit about. Because there's lots of people I disagree with all the main channels, and that's what it's all about, man. It's like the popular channels,
everything, and just like free discourse, and like everybody has their heated moments, but it's like if you're an intellectual, you understand that. Any sane people, you just go to sleep and tomorrow's another day, right?
Oh, some of the most brilliant people I've met are like, have real hard time controlling some of their emotions. So it's not bad. That's understandable why not a lot of them go public with this stuff. They just kind of keep quiet and do their work by themselves and stuff, So, because social interaction and scientific interaction.
I was thinking how I want to show you what I got.
Oh man, I feel you.
It's like we're all a little autistic, and Sheldon.
That's too funny.
It's the stereotype has some truth to it, I must say.
Couldn't agree more, my friends. Cool. Well, I gotta sign out here. The girlfriend's need me to make her a sandwich and whatnot. So, talk to you guys soon.
All right, man. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. I have my mic muted. Wow.
Sure. So, what did you guys think about that presentation? Did you guys watch my 2-hour kind of debriefing on the UAP, like what I think the Senate should look into? If I could, I just pictured Jack Reed in the audience. My Jack Reed is my senator here in Rhode Island. And no relation to Harry Reid, by the way. I had a mix up earlier. I was like, Senator Reid? He's like, he's retired now. He's like 80 years old. I was like, no, not Senator Reid. Jack Reed from Rhode Island. I just was like pictured my senator there, and I'm like, what would I tell him to look into and investigate if he was, because he's on the Senate Select Intelligence Committee, and he needs all the best intelligence on this field and understanding this, what to look into. And I think I covered a lot of good stuff, but what did you guys think about that? It was good? Anything I missed?
I think it hit all the points it needed to. It definitely gave you enough information where if you need to look into anything specific, you can just go back, reference it, and then having to do your own research.
I try to give all my sources for all the pictures that I used and graphic credits and stuff written on the photos and stuff too. I don't know if I got all of them. Some of the things weren't coming through on the presentation, and weird things were happening with the presentation, with the arrow keys and stuff. But I had to keep using the mouse to scroll through it. But I don't know. I think I could do it again in maybe like an hour and maybe I don't know, 2 hours was pretty good. I'm gonna polish it up, I think, a little bit too, because yeah, I want to like.
I was hoping you were gonna redo it so that basically you wouldn't be as nervous after you've done it a couple times. That nervousness will drop out, because that was the only thing I saw with it.
Yeah.
It was a negative. Everything else was fine.
It was hard because what happened is I got started and I went on for about a minute and realized that I wasn't live, so I had to restart.
Oh wow.
And then it got me like nervous because and then I wasn't sure if it had like started, because it like started on the streaming software, but it hadn't like gone through on the mainstream. I don't know. It was like basically when I hit the go live, it was at 57 seconds, and I wasn't sure if I had already said the stuff that I just said, and I was like, oh man. So I was already off. But yeah, I need to.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Good practice anyway. I mean, it was good cut. Like I think well, this is the thing is what's the debriefing? No, the briefing is what comes first, and then after the mission is the debriefing, right? So
right.
Before the mission they brief you, and then after the mission they debrief you. So this was the briefing, I guess. And then the mission now is to investigate all this stuff. Like, we're a little nervous and unsure of ourselves going into it, because it's a lot of crazy stuff too. I guess maybe it set the vibe for them as well. But maybe maybe I'll give an update report, like an updated one in another month, where I can polish it up a little bit, and then by like June when they release their report, I'll have mine, like my report independently, and it will. I'm hopefully get enough traction by then. It will, they'll be forced to like actually make some comments on some of this stuff, which is super, I thought it was a super informative, because it's like, I don't know.
It definitely brings up questions like that drone you mentioned about how
God, the MB
they launch it. They launch the drone from the sub. It does its thing in the air and then comes and returns to the sub like that. Like, yeah, I thought of that, but like, I didn't think that we would have that, and that's from 2012. What the hell? Oh my god, that's crazy. And it's like it kind of looks like some type of like bird. Like, I don't know. The triangular shape of it kind of gives me like a bird shape vibes. I don't know, but even still, it's cool. It's like a drone that they launch from the sub that can do reconnaissance in the air and then return to the sub.
Yeah,
you can't make this stuff up, man. And some of it, when you do, you sound crazy, and then turns out, oh no, we have that. Yeah, we have that.
Oh, I got what I'm gonna do. So I just got a projector and a screen, right, and an audio. If this guy's talking about how I should do my presentation, man, I should set this up so I can go down to Jack Reed's office and like present this. But anyways,
you definitely could put on a flash drive and then get the remote, present him the slideshow.
I'm thinking about going down there tomorrow. I'm putting the PDF on I printed the whole slideshow as a PDF, and I put it on a flash drive with a bunch of all the documentation that goes along with it. I'm thinking about filming myself going down there and handing it to him tomorrow at his office, just so that'll be a cool video, just to be like, look, this is what I'm doing.
Can't say that I didn't do anything.
You can't say I didn't do anything. I can't say I didn't try to provide you with research, and I took 16 years of my life, like, and I sacrificed a lot of my life to get this intelligence and put this together. So you can at least take 2 hours to watch it. And if you're gonna claim anything and about it, you should listen to the most informed person in your state on this subject, right? I'm in Rhode Island.
The science.
So.
Listen to the science.
You're pushing forward activism that should have been happening all along. Technological activism.
Yes. It is technological.
Maybe mention how much money it would bring the state in America, and they'll like money.
Yes, that's what that's kind of what I wanted to like throw together at the end, but I didn't want to seem like like too much of a corporate sellout.
What do you think about the Muon thing? I keep seeing like a lot of videos about it, of how they got up to like 4.3 sigma of the muons, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not.
Oh
fully
yeah, that was
sure.
the recent space-time video, man. We gotta get. I would love to get on that. I want. He's been doing tons of really great videos, which shows that he's really doing physics research around a lot of these ideas, you know. And he's not like, you know, but he's not like getting. He didn't get into the M drive or any of that stuff. Has he done video? I gotta see if he's done videos on M drive. Let's go to PBS space-time. You ready, guys?
Nope.
Hey there, PBS. And today on PBS Space Time, we're gonna look why. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. You can't even make a joke about it. It's kind of just too straightforward. But I do enjoy PBS Space Time.
My name is Dr. Matt O'Dowd, and on
Space-time
Particle
bombs.
Hunter today.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
All right. That's all I got. I'm sorry.
Hey, you win one internet for that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come up with more material than that if you're gonna start competing with Bum Hunter.
Bum Hunter. Oh yeah.
Hunter.
Oh God. We really need more viewers, man. I don't know. I can't believe it dropped down to 36. They must be doing something to mess with the algorithms or our upload or our stream or something. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Dude.
Yo, I just went to YouTube and I typed in Alien Scientist Tim Pool, and it seems like it's blacklisted or something because you have to scroll to find it, or you have to sort by upload date. It's not at the top, and it's the most viewed video under that search result.
Wow, that's crazy, man. It's pretty. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I mean, Eli, the computer guy, got a YouTube strike for saying he was going to get the COVID vaccine.
Are you serious?
And when they reviewed it, they're like, "No, it's right. You violated YouTube's terms of service." Like what?
Oh God! Well, that's what comes next, dude. When you're starting to push.
I really think he's right. She's like that drunk mother that you never know when she's gonna be blowing up on you one day, and the next day she's acting like nothing happened, man. You know, just go off on you for no reason whatsoever. Old Susan there, you know.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
Man, I hate to you can't. They're gonna ban you for criticizing her on our platform now. She's watching.
Yeah. Well,
this is one of the.
I don't know.
She's secretly one of the biggest fans, though.
Well, this is one of the things. Is like there's always some like censor watching. It's like, should I ban this? Should I allow this to continue? It's like,
Hey Jeremy, I just wanted to show this real quick to your audience. This vacuum bulb, which one I found that actually does have a hard vacuum in it, and the insulation factor of this between the element and the outside is quite incredible. I mean, I've already had 40,000 volts between those 2 points, and they're like 1.8 centimeters. Thereabouts, 1.8 centimeters apart. And so this was the package of that bulb. Phillips sign, clear, 11 watt, medium base. And then there's the little ordering code, if I can get it to focus.
China.
Yes.
China.
So, anyways, wanted to show you guys that because this is a vacuum bulb that I've taken the base off of, and I didn't want any kind of high voltage getting around this thing with that large encapsulated base or having another electrode. So I'll be taking 2 wires and insulating these all the way down as 2 individual leads so I can heat this as a heated cathode as an electron emitter. And instead of a large dome on the top, in this case, I'm actually going to use a very small dome that's being formed by the parabolic shape of the glass itself, kind of ideal for a very tiny TT Brown self-contained replication. And this will be highly insulated, showing that it's not ionic. So if this produces a force under pulsed high voltage DC configuration with a heated cathode, we know that force has to be produced by this system internally, meaning that nothing past the top of the aluminum or nothing past the edge of the glass is producing that force, because we know that it's fully insulated. So there's no ions there or external interaction. And because it's just pulse DC, you know, it should be pretty definitive. And this is just like in that diagram we seen in the video earlier, Jeremy, where he shows a bulb with 2 wires coming down from it, long leads, heated filament as a cathode emitter, and then around the top, a very large dome, no foil on that bulb. That would be the T.T. Brown variation of this very same experiment.
Ooh.
So we are playing around with it and giving it a try. And there's already another channel that has some videos from 2011 to 2007 and shows this actually producing a force fully insulated. So I have to replicate that.
So you took the base off the light bulb, and you put, what is that, aluminum foil on the outside of the glass, or is that actually on the inside?
Outside.
It's on the
outside.
outside.
Yeah, that's on the outside. I just I took the minimum amount to spray adhesive, not even so much as to cover the full surface of the aluminum foil, and I just quickly glanced over the foil just fast enough to make it kind of sort of stick, and then as the stuff was still liquid, kind of thin it out and push it down, I squeeze the foil around. I also wanted to mention that the foil I used is extraordinarily thin. So this is not kitchen aluminum foil. That's actually foil from the back wrapper of fast food packaging. So sometimes, you know, when you go to one of these big fast food joints, they'll hand you a burger or a chicken sandwich or whatever in a paper one side, foil on the other wrapper. Well, if you take a heat gun to the foil side of that wrapper, the paper will just peel off, giving you a piece of foil that's about 10 to 15 times thinner than a piece of kitchen foil. And it very easily conforms perfectly to the surface of the glass, which is why you want to use the thinner foil. So just a bit of advice, if you need foil, go to a fast food chain.
I'll have to ask me twice. I'm down.
I just went over to one of the fast food places and told them, you know, I was working on some gravity research and wondered if I could you know, buy something from their menu or just pay them straight up for a stack of their foils, just a few to do experiments. And they handed me like 100 of them. I'm like, here you go. I'm like, well, thank you very much. Here's my YouTube channel. So something to consider. They might just hand you a bunch. It's not like in your own town, the likelihood of another person actually doing the same research is going to lead to multiple people going to the same restaurant. It'll be wonderful if that's the way it was, but don't worry, they won't get oversaturated. We are a rare breed.
It's going to start a whole, you know, chain. They're going to have a shortage. It's going to cost them, the restaurant chains, millions.
A few thousand wrappers can be given away for the sake of humanity escaping the planet.
Yes, right. We'd like to thank Burger King. Sorry.
Nah, they're too cheap for all that foil stuff. You gotta look at like the Wendy's and the Arby's and all those. Arby's has them, yeah.
I'm thinking Arby's.
I have some good foil from Arby's.
You had the most successful experiment in all of human history. How does it feel, and who do you thank? Arby's?
Well, you know what I'm thinking.
Well, you see the stoners down the road. They were the best help to me, you know what I'm saying? That's terrible, man. That's terrible.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah, brother.
And the stoners are the true soldiers, bro, that work overnight. That's what's up.
Oh, jeez.
Exactly.
52 people here. All of them are...
Yeah, too late.
All of them are speaking like American accent English. I would expect a couple like British people to be up like early in the morning, like, oh, look, AlienScientist is on. Come on, where's some more people? Join the chat. I see people coming in and leaving this. Like people are not sticking around. Like it's open lines. Anyone can come on and join and sit here and talk about this stuff. You know. Yeah, the CIA watching. Let's get that off the main screen, man. That's freaking people out. Like they come on a video and it just says CIA watching. They're like, all right, I'm gonna get off this video. They're watching me. Oh my god, they know. They know I'm an alien scientist. I watched this 2-hour presentation for UAP earlier.
This isn't funny. I know I have a sense of humor, but I know the CIA doesn't have a sense of humor.
Right?
So you know,
some of
can't
these
be a
people
joke.
I gotta fix for you guys. I gotta fix for you.
yeah, dude. Like, man.
Big brother watching, bro.
Big brother watching. Yeah, that's good, man. All right, we got another fish, another fresh fish in the pond.
Another one.
Yeah.
I'm curious what y'all think about, like, I don't know, grand unified theory. It's kind of a big topic, but That and energy. Like I was thinking with the cavitations, is it actually releasing energy? Like are you losing mass when you do that from the like is it actually breaking molecules apart when that happens?
I think there might be some beta decay or interactions that are going on in those types of yeah, for sure there could be, you know.
Yeah.
Why not? It should certainly be investigated. There's evidence of it in the cold fusion experiments, which is a similar kind of thing that's going on. There's evidence that shows that the fusion reactions can happen and that these high energy gammas can be diffused through Bremsstrahlung radiation and basically delivered as phonons, you know, through entanglement. Rather than and the energy can be dispersed in a different manner. So some of the energy, so it doesn't release this high energy gamma because some of the energy is dispersed phonon like mechanically to the lattice, basically through this effect, which is kind of really cool. And
yeah, I don't know. With some of these questions, you think they like some of the basic questions end up being so much more complicated than you think. Like, where does the energy come from in fuel, or where does energy, you know, like what is an energy fundamentally? Like when you ask those questions about, you know, changing fuel to work, or you know, anything like that. I don't know.
By the way, Jeremy, you just got a super chat.
yeah, I saw that. Do you guys want to shift gears here and address this? I might as well. It's been brought up. I was on a podcast last night with Steve Cambion on Truth Seekers and my friend Dan Benkert. And Dan loves to go on personal attacks and really insult people and stuff too. He's real vicious. He's, you know, I don't like to call it the Shark Tank when Dan's not. Dan's definitely a shark, man. And so he I want to get him on, but I want him to be like to learn how to like use his research and not like just sit there and bash people personally and stuff, because it's that kind of stuff will get you banned and or get you in trouble. So I don't know, but that was what I was on there last night, and I wanted to repost it to my channel, but I just don't have the time to sit down and edit it all down. I wanted to get Steve on and Dan on to do a shortened version of that where we went over all this. But have you guys familiar with this leak thing?
I haven't seen it.
Apparently, all right. So apparently, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, they're losing a lot of credibility on Twitter and in a lot of circles now, because a lot of people like respect these guys as like this legit source of you know, UFO information and stuff. He's got a huge following, and he was, you know, been on Joe Rogan. You know, this guy's credited as this, you know, UFO journalist and stuff, but is really anyone in the community, like, he's really starting to lose a lot of credibility. This is interesting because he put out this video, right?
Yeah.
And it's gotten a lot of attention about this. And it's confirmed from the Navy. It says the Pentagon has admitted that a U.S. Navy destroyer captured this eerie night vision footage, mysteriously flashing objects flying above it, and another warship. So Jeremy Corbell comes out with this video, and apparently the Navy backs it up. So it's like it's almost like this looks to me like that the Navy and counterintelligence, that Jeremy Corbell is working with counterintelligence. It's basically like the way I'm looking at it, because this is clearly a video that could be made with like an aperture lens. Right, so Mick West did this thing on it, and he's got all these critics going back and forth about this. Right, one of the things interesting, this pyramid, he calls it a pyramid. It's a triangle. He will not use the word triangle because he doesn't want people researching triangle UFOs. And then what they did is they wiped all the search. Used to search triangle UFOs, and all the stuff on Ed Fouché and TR3B would come right up. Now none of that stuff comes up. This guy Jeremy Corbell does this thing, and they won't even use. They use the pyramid. They said use the word pyramid, but they say triangular object. other people who report on it. But if you watch, like Jeremy Corbell never uses the word triangle. He says pyramid.
Yeah, I got the video pulled up right now.
Oh my god! So
it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obviously a light artifact, like a lensing artifact.
It's a lens artifact because the stars have the same shape in the background, and these other things have, the same shape. And he shows it. Mick West shows it, and then he shows the blinking. He should show it's an airplane. Just filming an airplane and it with this aperture thing on it. It's got a triangular aperture obviously on this lens. But the weird thing is that the Navy apparently confirmed the video was captured by U.S. Naval on a U.S. Navy ship, and they're putting out this stuff, right, and pushing this narrative. I just say, our senators and people, be skeptical. These people are liars. I don't have any faith or trust in them. I don't, and. I'm sorry that you think it's super patriotic to stand behind your military. Standing behind your military means outing the people that are responsible for derailing humanity and lying and basically selling disinformation and selling humanity up shit's creek while suppressing all the talk of technology and things that could get us to other planets and save humanity. All the stuff that the billionaires that control all this stuff don't want you to talk about and don't want you to know about, and they start, they're the ones paying these people to censor all these channels that talk about this kind of stuff and talk about the suppression and try to bring the truth out, and it gets mixed up. So the scientific community ignores this stuff because it gets mixed up with all the woo-woo, because there's so much woo-woo mixed in with it to try to discredit it, the real stuff. So how I feel, but. And that's what I think this is. It's woo-woo, and it's out there to discredit, the real stuff. It's to make people think that this UAP task force is sitting there looking at all this footage and that they have just this massive archive of videos and stuff, which they probably do, and it's probably a lot better stuff than this. I'll tell you what. This is junk. This is crap. You should be ashamed I'm glad that he posted this because he stuck his foot in his mouth, and tons of his audience is leaving by the numbers finally, and all the people that got interested because of his coverage of Bob Lazar are starting to investigate it, and all the smart people are coming to my channel and being holy shit.
By the way, Jeremy, I do have another video up.
This is crazy.
Yes, let's do this.
Well.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It literally looks like it's eating itself.
It does. It very much does. I wish I could turn on the light.
Thank you for the question and the super chat, man. Jeremy Corbell's a fool, man. That's all I gotta say. And anyone who follows him is gonna get fooled. And I'll debate him anytime, anywhere. He can come on the show live right now if he wants to. Send him the link. I'll email it to him right now. I'm going to email it to him right now.
And he comes on and suddenly he just reveals that there's a grand disinformation plot, and then reveals too much. Gets us all assassinated.
Didn't want to say anything.
Jeremy, come and oust your handlers.
The perfect time.
Yeah.
Tell us who your handlers are. Is it George Knapp, your mentor? Thing is, he's so dumb. He probably they wouldn't even need to they just give him a handler basically. George Knapp controls Jeremy Corbell. He's a lot of people's handler in the UFO community. He's been handling all the UFO information for the past 30 years. He's the kingpin of it, man. And I'm glad that people are finally waking up that these guys might be, not the best sources anymore. And I'm glad I'm starting to mix it with, this other stuff, the MK Ultra stuff, and mix it with some of the other conspiracy stuff that's out there. Because it's unanswered questions, and it's, government, it's about government accountability. It shouldn't be about funding for, war machines and war projects. Oh, just war funding. This is all this UAP task force is about, is threats and war funding. No, this is about human progress and about humanity and about science and technology and about doing things for our state and my state and the state of Rhode Island and the industries here that could be propping up and benefiting from this technology suppressed actively.
That's the thing. I mean, it's bigger than just the aircraft. I mean, the physics can apply to anything. So if that physics is being held back just because it applies to military equipment, that's also physics that can be applied to so many other things. So yeah, and we're gonna see it in our technology. I mean, I've heard or I've seen some patents having to do with future computing and charging devices like remotely. Some crazy stuff. But I don't know. I don't know how long it can be held back. Some of that stuff.
Have you heard of the nano diamond battery? Where basically they're using nano diamonds confined around like radioactive material, and the nuclear decay of it apparently can power the device or like a battery, and apparently can be like the charge will last up to 28,000 years or something like that. Some like it was apparently an article on Yahoo. If you search it up, NBD is their like website. But yeah, I mean like there's I called them. They're based in California. I was talking to somebody and I asked if they would have like an IPO option, you know, because if you're creating diamond battery technology or any kind of battery technology that has like the potential of so-called 28,000 years, or you saved even 1% of that, like 28 years or whatever, it's like that's still some damn good battery technology. So, you know,
it looks really official. I don't know what to think about it. The website looks super official.
Yeah, and then like it had the Yahoo article about it, and it was just like, well, it could be like, you know, one of those misinformation things, but at the same time I don't really see it being misinformation, just because it's just like what significance is, like, what is it really throwing off? You know, it's not really pertain to any specific subject.
This is why we need Jeremiah, right? We need Jeremiah and Thomas, because these guys are the foot soldiers actually testing the stuff, you know, like doing the repeatability, because I think it's easy for us to get caught up in what we want to believe. I mean, definitely. I mean, if we're more open-minded, you had to be careful, you know. But yeah, if you're actually doing repeatability and testing, that's like we should be open to things, but also test them, you know. So that's what Tesla did. He criticized other scientists because they weren't willing to actually get their hands dirty. They just focused on the abstract mathematics, which has its place, but you're not going to find new phenomena without, you know, testing things yourself.
True. Some people take things to their grave, and that really sucks. Because there's so much information that people have just died with, and it's like
the people who know don't talk, and the people who talk don't know. It's so true. And in the UFO community, I was like, yeah, I met all these people that are huge people out at AlienCon and stuff, but you realize that, you know, like, I don't know, it's just so, there's such a disconnect, man. It's so, the stuff that gets popular is not, you know, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Like, I'm so glad we have this crew here, man, because it gives me faith in humanity, man. When I've lost almost all.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah. If it doesn't make you famous, doesn't make you money, it doesn't get you laid, that's the stuff that most people are interested in. You know, if it gets you laid, popular or famous. But yeah, the truth.
Chicks aren't really into this stuff, you know.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm kind of like, I have less faith in humanity than I feel like you do, because you're more open to making this like a big thing, open to a big audience. But I feel like you kind of have to make it you have to kind of sell out in a way to do that, and not actually get down to the truth, because the truth is more divisive and harder to sell to people sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah, it is. It is. People aren't ready. A lot of people aren't ready for all of it too, and I'm just like, I'm just all right out there, you know.
Because I'm telling you, you could go make some After Effects videos, publish them like one every couple of weeks, just random After Effects fake videos, and get way more following than actually publishing the real history, So I don't know. That's kind of the hard thing.
People who keep posting videos of things like, a power strip plugged into itself, claiming it's free energy, and
yeah, like
computer fans that are basically hidden batteries in them, and then they put some magnets on the blades.
And they're getting their AdSense.
Yeah, like I think the second law of thermodynamics has something to say.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, they're getting their AdSense revenue. They get what they want. You know what I'm saying? So.
By the way, I was showing off that.
Aluminum, right?
No, that's, the blue liquid is copper acetate. I just kind of realized that, like because you're talking about the replication, right? Foot soldier work and getting stuff done. The thing that Jeremiah is working on, he was wanting to work with like a high K value material called what was it? It was a calcium copper titanate.
That is correct.
Okay, well, I have, like, after looking over all the information, I have all the stuff to make up a batch of it, like actually make the compound itself as a clay and then fire it up. So that's why I want the dimensions for that stuff, so I can fire a little batch of those that are like, say, an inch wide for the top part, because the rest of it you should be able to handle on your end, right?
Yeah.
The low K value stuff is stuff that basically you can pour and form like epoxies and whatnot, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just that high K stuff that's very difficult to form.
Right. So.
Especially in like these shapes. So just it's one of the simplest shapes. I mean, the most basic of it is like a half cylinder that has a wall thickness, or if you imagine a tube inside of a tube, if you imagine one tube that's exactly is a diameter that's exactly half the space across of the width of the larger tube. So you position the smaller tube inside the larger tube, and then you just bisect the area between them into two halves. And so I'm looking for a dielectric that fills one of those two halves.
So it should actually be a whole tube. I thought you were making something that had an opening on one side.
Preferably, it should be a whole tube.
You're basically taking, cutting the tubes and then sliding them over halfway. So that way it created this kind of S formation.
Well, that's one way to do it, but I'm just testing for a single apparatus. Like that's how you would build an array, and the reason why that system is superior is because you can pack more individual field converters into the same area with that type of zigzaggy configuration. But
I can fire like a 4-inch square by 3.5 to 4 inch high array of this material up. So
right, but here's the thing, that zigzaggy configuration. Right, that zigzaggy configuration is actually made entirely of tubes or of half tubes of that same description that I just gave you. So the whole entire array is made of those two things. It's just that one is a high K and one is a low K, and then there's a metal that goes around the outside of both of them. Right. So it's still the same shape, but I mean that's fundamentally the same shape.
You said it's a tube, though, right? So that means that there is an inner dimension and an outer dimension. It's not a cabochon. It's not.
The inner dimension is half the diameter of the outer dimension. It's really straightforward.
Okay.
And then apparently, the smaller that it is, the better that it works. So it's okay to run it at lower voltages, according to Tor. If it's made smaller, I guess it just delivers even better performance. And if it's made incredibly small, like on the micron scale, then it delivers incredible performance. And according to that patent, it can lift itself.
Right. Well, the three materials that are needed for it: titanium dioxide. It's not that hard to come up with that. Calcium carbonate. The easiest place to get that from are eggshells. They're like pure calcium carbonate. Just have to clean all of the interior material off it, make sure that it's just the shell, because there's proteins and whatnot in that inner material. So, and then a copper oxide. So it's not that hard to go. In fact, what I'm doing to strip that aluminum off of the mylar for the capacitors that I'm going to make, I'm gonna have to basically convert the copper from copper acetate to copper oxide while the acetate is being transferred over to the aluminum to strip it off. So I'll end up with a bunch of copper oxide left over that, you know, I can just do a quick filtration and you know, that stuff precipitates out. It won't stay dissolved like the aluminum acetate will in the solution. So I mean, I'll have all the materials here, and it's incidental materials. I mean, there's no point in throwing it away, you know, especially if it's useful for a specific task. So that way you can find out whether there's anything behind that or not. So
no, I agree. If we can make our own dielectrics and they can be made to withstand a very high voltage and have a high K value at the same time, that would be remarkable. Right. If they can come in at the same kind of rankings as far as dielectric withstand voltage, that's the big key, because the higher the voltage that you can get across these plates based on whatever arbitrary K value you have, then the greater differential of electrons versus lack of electrons leaving protons behind that you can achieve in your capacitor, which is ultimately what creates the force, according to Tor and according to Bates.
Right. Yeah, the only thing that they said was specialized about firing that material up was basically, you know, keeping the atmosphere inert. So, but it was saying that you could use a nitrogen or a hydrogen environment, so you just didn't want the oxygen in there. So I mean, that's not that hard to get rid of. I'll just put something in there and fire it up before, you know, it reaches temperature where it's ready to start breaking the other stuff down and fusing it together. That'll basically burn off, making you know, an oxide that basically will not allow the oxygen to bond with the other materials. So you won't even need any kind of like pressure valves or anything like that. So
that's awesome. I mean, it would be really awesome if you could pull it off, especially because it sounds like you're going to use a slightly different method than I've heard of or that I'm familiar with. So that could be very useful for a lot of people.
Yeah,
let's hope it works.
What is it? Call it a solid state method. So they're just basically, if you read through though, it's basically just controlling the atmosphere while you're firing the ceramic. So and making sure you have your ratios weighted out properly for the materials, so that way you don't have any you know, crystals that form that are not the specific, you know, molecular crystallization you're looking for in that, because it will form multiple phases in there if you've got too much titanium or too much copper or something. So but yeah, I mean, like I said, it, you know, even gave full instructions on like the whole making up the paste and everything, and the particle size it needs to be to get the best results and everything. So there's a couple different crystal phases too that you can look at obtaining more of or less of, but they all form together in some array or some, you know, some percentage out of those components. So I mean, you know, like I said, that seems like that's the only part that's going to be difficult is on your end, is basically that hard ceramic material instead of something that's potted, and that way you can basically, you know, say, aha, no, there's nothing wrong with the way I've done this. It's, you know, 100% accurate. So if there isn't any kind of measurement at all, which by the way, I got the measurement tools too for the sensors. And,
awesome.
I just have to build a strain sensor system that basically allows us to divide up the increments into micrograms. I'm assuming that would be small enough increments, right?
Yeah, that should be easily.
Dude, so we're talking about Bigelow Aerospace in the live chat and stuff, and I wanted to mention a couple things. Man, what do you think? Man, I lost my train of thought now. I was just gonna say, man, the CIA mind control stuff works. They just wiped my brain. Jesus, I had a whole thing I was gonna say about Bigelow Aerospace.
Does it have anything to do with Bigelow's current projects or the people that he hires?
Well, oh yeah, no. This is the thing, is he just laid a whole bunch of people off too. There's a whole bunch of stuff I could say about Bigelow. It's just my mind just went into everything Bigelow all at once. It's like an explosion. It was like, that was weird.
My favorite Bigelow project is when he went to Europe and he was a gigolo.
No, but he laid off of all of his employees. So all these people that work for him, I wonder if he made them all sign NDAs before letting them go. You know, like you can't talk about what you worked on here, or like I don't know, where do all those people go? Like when you lose your job, you worked at Bigelow. As my resume, I worked at Bigelow Aerospace for the last 5 years, but I can't.
They probably get snatched up by like either the other like special access programs,
like
or
SpaceX, or where do these people go? That's what I want to know. We got to like, I want a list of like name. We got a FOIA. People talking about FOIAs and what FOIAs should we be filing and what should we be going after. Go after Bigelow Aerospace. Find out, like, give me a list of all their employees, bro. And I want to follow these. I'm gonna like literally. We should be following have an active team of people like intelligence.
Is Bigelow a private company, like completely private funded and everything, or is it like
private
kind of? Oh, okay.
Private billionaire.
Bigelow's the guy that.
But he gets the government contract.
Real estate, so he can get the money to basically develop space tech, since he knew he didn't have the intellect and the development skills to basically do it himself.
Wait, so how long has Bigelow Aerospace been around, though?
All right, so he kind of started this. He started a company. He was just a local billionaire. He got interested in the Bob Lazar case, and he started a company called Zeta Reticuli 2 with Bob Lazar back in the early 90s, if you didn't know about that. And I heard the story is he brought in these guys from NIDS, who were the Hal Puthoff and a couple of these other scientists, like Eric Davis. And they sat down with Lazar. According to the story I heard, they sat down with Lazar, figured out he didn't know, he didn't know any real physics or math, and that he wasn't who he said he was, and that they let him go because of that. But the story that Knapp, of course, got out of Bigelow, I don't know what the heck was going on there. With Bigelow went on, and said that we had to let him go because of furniture. He was storing furniture and the thing, and running like a furniture operation out of the thing, so we had to let him go because of that. And then he didn't really get into it. It's like, bro, if he's this brilliant physicist who did all this stuff, what there's more to this story. There's more to that. I'm sorry, there's more to that story. And I was like,
no, man. It says on Wikipedia he's a conspiracy theorist, so that's it. That's all.
And he gets on Joe Rogan too. Bigelow was on Joe Rogan too, but he had an aerospace company. Okay, he started an aerospace company. I'm not sure. I think aerospace started like in the 90s, like after all that, right? Because he basically said like, well, we're gonna go after all these government programs, that supposedly exist, if these programs exist.
So did they fake it to make it then?
And then he realized, that's basically what he realized. He's like, well, he realized if there's stuff like this that exists, well, if it doesn't exist, then it should exist. And so I'm going to make my own company to kind of compete with it and get contracts, because it should exist, technically. So I think that's kind of what he did, is started his own company and tried to get and got a lot of these people together, got a lot of sources together on his own privately, and tried to start something commercially with it. I think, I'm not exactly sure the whole story, but we definitely don't know the whole story as the public, and Bigelow's not the type of guy to tell all those secrets. You know what I mean?
And maybe everything got caught up with like infighting.
I don't know. I would love to get my own interview with Bigelow, man, because it's just like, I feel like what he did with George Knapp and Joe Rogan was some scripted bullshit, man. I'm sorry.
I don't remember the exact language in one of the interviews that was done with Bigelow, but I believe he said they were in communication with people of other worlds, and or of other places, or something on those lines linguistically, and that they were doing the technology trade. So this is a pretty weird thing for a dude to say, especially somebody of that stature. So why? Is he just kind of having his fun playing pranks on everybody? Is it like Elon Musk posting, I think Bitcoin as his icon, or what?
I think it might go to the CIA mind control people that he got hooked up with early on in the 90s, the guys that he hired from SRI International and the NIDS study, to do all that work at Skinwalker Ranch. I think all that was is psychological operations, because it has all the key marks of like what MKUltra did, is they use they take things with like folklore legends, because it's naturally believable. People came up with this stuff, so it's naturally believable, right? It came from natural sources of misinformation, about the world. So those are the best kinds of sources, are organic. So they amplify that kind of stuff. I think that whole Skinwalker Ranch thing, I think all that remote viewing stuff is like, it's all mind games, bro. You know, there's no evidence for it, and then like you'll get in these arguments with all these people, and I'm getting fights with these people over this, and I think it's great because none of them have any evidence. They don't have a shred of evidence, and they'll, oh, you're just a skeptic and stuff. It's like, no, I'm like a real researcher. I'm a truth finder, and you're not, and that's a problem. So I think it needs to, you know, sort out that nonsense from the real stuff, you know, because then they're mixing all this alien stuff in with these portals and all this craziness, you know, like we were talking about I was talking about the other night with, I forget who, I think it was on Steve Cambian's. Yeah, we were talking about all this stuff about Eric Davis and all the papers that he wrote and some of the stuff, you know. He's got the paper in it with the Tyrannosaurus where Einstein's reaching through a portal and seeing a Tyrannosaur, you know. Some ridiculous, it's like he's making fun of it, but it's, you know, it's ridiculous, and we can make fun of it until someone shows us that it's real, you know. And that's, I think, an important point, and that's, you know, what we're trying to do here on this channel is use science to kind of separate that stuff. And it's sad that, you know, more scientists don't see that. Like, that's what really we're doing, and that's what our heart is at, you know, since they just see this, that we're looking into touching, you know, taboo, superficial, pseudoscientific nonsense, and that, you know, they don't want to get associated with us because it could tarnish their reputation. And
that's why I say, you know, one of the best ways to the human psyche is through the visual cortex. And if you can give somebody something good or interesting to look at, it's the fastest way to capture attention in today's fast-paced world. People have a very short attention span. It's kind of like we've all become goldfish. But if you can get that and present the information in a visual way, you can lock it into their minds, and people actually care about what you're saying. It's amazing.
I'll say nothing works better than lightning bolts, too, with whatever project you're handing them.
Or hot assistant, but that works, too.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with lightning bolts, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody's you know, their attention is grabbed by that. So, you know.
Yeah, even just seeing like little Tesla coil lightning.
Doing a Kickstarter, make sure it has lightning bolts involved in it, like those little mini Tesla coils and Slayer exciters that dude was selling. People went nuts over that.
It is nuts. It's nuts how nuts people went over that. I was surprised by it, and the reception. You would think like something as obscure as a Tesla coil wouldn't have that big of a public interest, but it's quite the opposite. It seems that people are very curious about devices that can power light bulbs from a distance or transmit reasonable amounts of power, or especially, and at the top of the list, create an interesting display of lightning bolts. Yeah. You've got to have that part.
Right. That's the thing. He showed coronal discharge and showed that it was, you know, something they could basically master and control. It wasn't going to kill them.
So which one was this?
And they were just like, "Oh my God, take all my money."
Yeah.
So where was this? Right. Yeah, send me a link to this one. I don't know if I'm familiar with this particular funding event.
We should,
but I would like to be.
Like
so,
that, man.
Hopefully, it's still up there and they haven't completely taken it down. Because he got
Jeremiah, you know what we should do is get a bunch of top hats and cyberpunk like outfits and do like a traveling show.
Yeah, dude, you know, I have actually. It's funny you should say that. I've done that. I have done a traveling show with the top hat and with all kinds of fun stuff. Actually, at the top of our show, we had one of my favorites. We had the Dielectric. We had a Dielectric drive out there into the stream underneath the Tesla coil. So the Tesla coil is like 3 times taller than the Dielectric, and the Dielectric's like, "You dare challenge me?" And he's got like the vocoder inside, so it's.
No, this would be perfect because we can
awesome.
show up at we can do a road trip tour. We'll show up at universities and display and get a whole bunch of people like paying attention, and then we can go and be like, "All right, we're here to talk to your scientists." And just interview them, and have a chat with them about all this stuff, you know.
And they wouldn't take you guys seriously at all, letting their guard down. And then when you hit them with the, well, yeah, we've observed this, and this effect, and they're like, wait, these guys know too much. They shouldn't be here. Yeah, we have to go, sir. we have.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the results would be. You know, because it's interesting to hear different scientists, take on this kind of new ideas. I'd love to hear what they have to say. Jonathan B wants to enter the room. All right, we're getting a new influx of people, man. People are starting to wake up. We're about 2 hours in. I can't believe it's been 2 hours. Jesus.
Oh wow.
I'm not even tired yet.
Since you just say you woke up from a nap.
Yeah.
There you go, Jeremiah. I dropped a link to it in the chat. So.
Something I found interesting was
you guys. Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah.
While he's talking, you want to share that screen? So, while he's giving whatever he's gonna say.
Yeah. Who wants to go? Who wants to talk next? Do you want me to pin? I was having you. You're doing these cool experiments. I like to have that on the screen.
Yeah, those are cool.
Hey, who's got an open mic, man? Mute your mic if you're not talking, and shut the stream off if you're going to be in the Zoom call. Cause
oh shit, my bad, dude.
Thanks, no worries. Yeah, what's up, man? People who just joined, what's going on? You got any questions or things to add? Input, man.
Okay. Something I came across was a sound transfer by like laser. This guy basically plugged up a speaker system and then shot it at basically solar panels that were also connected to a speaker. He did it over a pretty far distance, I would say a couple 100 feet, like at his friend's house. He was in an apartment building. His friend lived in a house, and they shot the laser from the apartment building to the house. And it actually did play the music. And then, like, if it got interrupted, though, if you broke the line of sight or if there was, like, a interruption. But it was still pretty cool. I didn't think you could... Like, I always knew you can use, data transfer, but I didn't really think that you can transfer sound with the light like that. Like, that was definitely, like, kind of one of those things that, like, I didn't really wrap my head around of, like, well, you can do that too, but it's just one of those things that it's not talked about.
Very simple through amplitude modulation. It's sort of like a Class A amplifier. You just simply increase or decrease the intensity of the laser beam, and that consequent change in intensity goes back and gets converted through either photosensor, solar panel, or other kind of converter, and then that is sent to a Class A amplifier to vary the amplitude. I mean, you could send it to a MOSFET amplifier with an initial filter on it. That'd be fine.
That kind of reminds me of AM/FM radio. You have your bandwidth, and then you have the micro everything inside your actual voice. Yeah.
Yep, you get the amplitude modulation, frequency modulation.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty sick.
Starlink.
Yeah, Starlink uses light that's in a similar way to transmit information between satellites. To my understanding, they use light.
Yeah.
Line of sight light. Lasers.
So apparently, one of my friends, right? I was on Steve Camion's show last night. He's on Truth Seekers, and he was talking to this dude.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's up, man, my friend?
What's up?
He had this dude on. He was talking to one of his sources, right? About and asked him. He's like, man, there's got to be some kind of like craft out there that goes in and out of the water and comes out of the water, like that these pilots described, It can't just be, as the Pentagon says, he knows of no secret programs that like could even, be related to this. So there has to be a more thorough review of this, like I said in my debriefing earlier today. And I wanted to show the video of this because I didn't show this. So I'm gonna put that video up right now. But you guys can go ahead. I'm gonna show this video in the background. You guys, why don't I put it on the? I'm gonna put it in the Zoom call too. Oh, come on! Why?
So, I recently proposed about theory.
I'm Bob Ruskowski. I'm a conceptual designer for Lockheed Martin.
I wish I could share this my screen
My
with you
artistic
guys.
training has helped me tremendously be able to quickly and efficiently communicate ideas, my design ideas to other people.
There you go.
To show them the vision, the same vision I have, and to be able to get them to understand.
You guys hear that?
This aircraft
We can see it, but we can't hear it just through your mic. Your mic is picking it up. Check your OBS yet again.
It's also been called the Cormorant.
No.
Oh, there we go. Hey, you got it. You got
As
it.
a result of the START II missile treaty, the Navy was faced with having to either retire or do something else with 4 of their 18 ballistic missile submarines. And the Navy came to us for our concepts for a wide range of unmanned aircraft that could operate from.
This kind of looks like a spoof because of how animated he is.
Or even submarines. This idea was.
Well, it's clearly
it was the first time
professionally done, you know, and shot.
And recovering the vehicle while the submarine was still submerged. This UAV concept incorporates a turbofan jet.
You hear that? So they decommissioned a bunch of these ballistic submarines, and we're trying to come up with new ideas of what they could use them for. So they developed these ideas.
The inlet for that engine.
That's what they did.
Will have to be closed off because engines typically don't like to be submerged. The submarines that we designed this concept to go aboard were the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines, which offers a tremendous amount of volume to integrate both and its servicing systems. When the submarine releases its vehicle, it goes to the surface like a core. When it reaches the surface, 2 rocket boosters light off and blast this aircraft into the sky. And during that time, the jet engine started, and after the rocket boosters burn out, they're dropped off, and the aircraft flies off and does its mission. The aircraft uses its stealth and mission planning to penetrate hostile airspace. And once it's in there, it can do a variety of missions. It could be collecting intelligence and reconnaissance.
He's too excited to say penetrate there.
It could be supporting special operations forces. But whatever it's doing, it's using its stealth.
Getting hydrogen fuel cell for its power source.
Done before, and you know, it also.
Yeah, it could be using a hydrogen cell power source.
We were able to draw.
Yes, but I don't think it's electric.
All kinds of areas, and including
just
hydrodynamic testing aspects, the ROV operations, and